You think you've seen beautiful architecture until you stand here on Passeig de Gràcia in Barcelona, facing a house that looks like it's alive. The walls don't feel static, they flow. The balconies stare back like masks. The columns resemble bones, and the roof looks like the back of a dragon. This is Casa Batlló, one of the most iconic works of Antoni Gaudí, a masterpiece of Catalan modernism, and a place where Barcelona stops being a city and becomes a story. I'm Javier Castillo, and in this video, I'm taking you through Casa Batlló in a way that's not just wow, pretty, but wow, now I understand why it's legendary. Here's the first thing most people don't realize. Casa Batlló wasn't born like this. It didn't start as a fantasy. It began as a fairly conventional building. According to Casa Batlló's official history, the original house was built in 1877 by architect Emili Sala Cortés. Then in 1903, it was purchased by Josep Batlló Boy Casanovas, a textile industrialist with ambition and very specific taste. Batlló wanted something that would speak louder than words, a house that would announce status, modernity, confidence. So he called Gaudí. And what happened next is the part that still feels almost unreal. Batlló gave Gaudí total creative freedom. At first, the idea was even to demolish the building, but Gaudí did something far more daring. He decided not to erase it, but to transform it completely. Between 1904 and 1906, the building underwent a radical renovation. The facade, the interior layout, the light, the ventilation, the central courtyard, reimagined as a single living system. That's why Casa Batlló doesn't feel like a decorated building. It feels like a building that has been reborn. Now let's read the house like Gaudí intended. Not as a checklist of rooms, but as a sequence of impressions. Start with the facade, because it's one of the most hypnotic in Europe. The first sensation is movement. Straight lines are rare. Everything curves, everything shifts. It's as if the wall is a surface of water caught mid-wave. Gaudí was obsessed with nature, not as decoration, but as a rule book. He believed nature doesn't build with rulers and perfect squares. It builds with curves, with tension, with organic logic. Casa Batlló is that philosophy turned into stone, glass, and ceramic. Look at the shimmering skin of the facade. It's covered in mosaic-like fragments that catch the light and change tone throughout the day. In the morning, it feels soft and airy. At midday, it's bright and electric. Toward evening, it becomes warmer, almost cinematic. This is not a facade that looks good from one angle. It's a facade that performs. And then there's the nickname, the House of the Dragon. People didn't invent that for fun. Look at the roofline. Wavy, scaled, muscular. It strongly resembles the spine of a creature. And one of the rooftop elements, often interpreted as a cross or lance-like feature, is commonly connected to the Catalan legend of Sant Jordi, the patron saint of Catalonia, slaying the dragon. Now, to be clear, Gaudí didn't leave you a simple label that says this is a dragon. He rarely did that. He worked with symbolism the way poets work with metaphors. He gives you an image powerful enough to be read in multiple ways. And that's why this building keeps people talking more than a century later.
Now focus on the balconies. Many people say they look like masks. Others say skulls. Some see carnival faces. Whatever you see, there's something undeniable. They look back at you. They give the building personality, almost expression. And in the middle of all this beauty, there's a slight edge, a hint of the uncanny. That contrast is part of what makes Casa Batlló unforgettable. But here's where I want to go deeper. Casa Batlló isn't just a dream facade for postcards. It was a residential building. It was meant to be lived in. And that's where Gaudí's genius becomes even more impressive, because he wasn't just designing a sculpture, he was designing experience. Inside, one of the most famous features is the light well, the central courtyard that pulls daylight into the building. And it's not just a hollow space, it's engineered emotion.
As you look upward, the courtyard can feel like you're inside a vertical ocean. Cool, luminous, layered. Gaudí understood that light is architecture, and he didn't treat it as something that happens through windows. He shaped it, distributed it, choreographed it. This is where you can remind your audience, in early 20th century Barcelona, managing light and air wasn't an aesthetic luxury. It was a practical need. and Gaudí's practical solutions were so elegant they became art. And that brings me to something I love about Casa Batlló: the way function and beauty are fused. In many buildings, you can separate structure from decoration. Here, you can't. The house is designed like a single organism. Details aren't added later. They feel grown. Doorways don't look cut from a template. They look shaped by hands and wind. Railings curve like vines. Transitions feel smooth, never abrupt. Even when you don't consciously notice it, your body does. And you move through the space differently, slower, more curious, more present. And that's the real power of this place. It changes how you behave. Now pull the camera back out to the street again, because Casa Batlló isn't standing alone in a quiet corner. It sits in one of Barcelona's most famous architectural stretches, an area often called the Block of Discord. On this part of Passeig de Gràcia, several architects created intensely expressive houses that seem to compete with one another, each one trying to be more original, more modern, more unforgettable. And Casa Batlló is one of the loudest, most daring voices in that conversation. So why is Casa Batlló more than a pretty building? Because it's a perfect storm of ideas. It's a symbol of Catalan modernism at its peak. It's a demonstration of Gaudí's ability to turn nature into architecture without copying it literally. It's a building that millions of people can fall in love with instantly, yet it still rewards deep attention, because the deeper you look, the more it reveals. And it's also a building with a living modern history. According to Casa Batlló's official history, the house stopped belonging to the Batlló family in the 1950s. Since the 1990s, it has been owned by the Bernet family, who restored it. The house opened to the public in 1995, and from 2002 it began hosting cultural visits more actively. Today, Casa Batlló is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site as part of the works of Antoni Gaudí. And that UNESCO note matters. It's not just a tourism badge. It's an international recognition that this building belongs to global cultural heritage, not only to Barcelona. Now, if you're watching this because you're planning a visit, or because you want to film your own episode here, let me give you a simple way to see Casa Batlló the right way. First, don't only film the wide shot. Everyone films the wide shot. Casa Batlló lives in fragments: a curve of glass, a piece of mosaic, a balcony edge, reflections changing on a surface. If you want your audience to feel it, you need close-ups. Second, capture contrast. Show an ordinary facade, then cut to Casa Batlló. Let people feel the shock. This building isn't impressive in isolation. It's impressive because it breaks the rules so completely. Third, inside, let silence work. This house needs breathing room. Give your viewer a few seconds to just look. Architecture is one of the few subjects where less talking can create more impact. And finally, tell the dragon story like a legend, not like a fact sheet. You don't have to claim one correct interpretation. The magic is that Gaudí built something that invites your imagination to participate. You're not just looking at the building, your mind is finishing it. For me, Casa Batlló proves something simple. Architecture can be simultaneously functional, emotional, daring, and timeless. Gaudí created a house that doesn't age the way trends do, because it's not built on fashion. It's built on nature, light, movement, and the psychology of how humans feel inside space. So if you ever come to Barcelona, don't treat Casa Batlló like just another stop on a busy itinerary. Stop, look up, look down, then look at the details and ask yourself, what do you see? Ocean, bones, carnival, dragon? There's no wrong answer, and that's exactly why it's genius. I'm Javier Castillo. If you enjoyed this kind of story-driven architecture walk, tell me in the comments what you want next. Sagrada Família, Park Güell, Casa Milà, La Pedrera, or something less touristy but just as powerful. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.